This is the Classic Auto Mall podcast. Broadcast from the studios inside the Classic Auto Mall in Morgantown, Pennsylvania. Yes, the Classic Auto Mall is a real mall just 1 hour west of Philadelphia at Pennsylvania Turnpike exit 298, featuring nearly 1,000 classic, vintage, and barn-find vehicles for sale under one climate-controlled roof. Now, here's your host, Classic Auto Mall president and the man with all the toys, Stewart Howden.
You know, somebody has stolen all my, well, maybe they haven't. Somebody has stolen all my little doilies to put my drinks on. I gave them.
Gave them to me at the car show.
I gave them all to you?
You gave me a pile of them at the car show. We're around here somewhere.
No, there's the old ones, but the rubber ones that look like
I know,
a record.
You gave them to me at the car show.
Well, I don't know why I would have done
I don't know
that. Was
either.
I drunk?
I don't know why you gave me. I just took them and said, "Okay, boss, I got them."
All right.
Can you hear me okay?
I can hear you okay.
All right.
Plenty loud. No, I don't remember that.
Okay.
How could I remember that? I'm so focused and intense on our show that, how could I be thinking?
And it's like when you move, I just moved and everything. I'm still finding stuff I've been looking for.
I was really good at moving and labeling the boxes exactly what was in there because it's the remote controls. It's the stuff that you really want right away that you're unfindable. There's some mystery box somewhere. Of course, it reminds me of car parts too, about when you box up car parts in your garage, you should put a date on the box.
Yeah.
And if 3 years after that date you've never opened the box, you have to toss it out without looking to see what's in it.
Really?
Yeah.
I don't know. I've got a lot of old
Well, what if they're oil filters you bought on sale and
right.
You just want to keep them until. And now, if you don't have that car any longer, then that's
true.
else.
Yeah, I've got a barn full of parts here. I've got so many parts here. It's not even funny.
You could build a car.
I could build a whole car.
Yeah, you and Johnny Cash.
It would be like a ghost car. It would be all hodgepodge of parts. Kind of like my partner's little hot rod that used to be here. Did you see that? That was built from, it was a 1930 Ford, but only in theory.
Right.
Because it was everything but a 1930 Ford. It was an Oldsmobile radiator and a something engine and whatever. So
that sounds like that Johnny Cash song, One Piece at a Time.
Exactly.
Yep.
So anyway, show number 125, thanks to the Pat Travers Band. I'm really going to rant here about these daggum iPhones. I love them, but I bought the new one, and guess what? Nothing that I own works with the new one from the old one. So the plugins are wrong. The power chargers are wrong. You got this new magnet thing, and those magnets you put in your car are ridiculously expensive. And so I went on a shopping spree for accessories, and it was like $400 it's like you bought the phone. Oh, crap, you need this. Oh, you need that. Oh, you need that.
You think they're that's
a reason
not in the plan?
That is the master plan.
It is the master
right?
plan.
Well, they got to eat too. So.
I got so many wires at home. I don't know what goes to what.
And I don't know what connection am I a C to C? And is that
right?
Well, why? What was wrong with the regular USB?
Nothing. Nothing.
And if you were really fancy, you had the what was that digital audio or thing with that weird little plug-in that you had for hi-fi stuff. So anyway, I'll get off my rant that has nothing to do with cars. We are going in the other direction on inventory, 1,080 as of today. So we had some inclement weather, which tends to slow the flow of consignments coming in, which has allowed us to get a little bit of a breather. And then we had to fire. No, then our content editor Peter Leach retired 2 weeks ago.
6,000 cars.
After 6,000 cars. Peter started in May of 18, I believe it was. And 5.5 years. So May 29th of 2018. Originally, he wrote and photographed all the cars. That's when we were taking in about 10 a week. Then that kind of changed. And all of a sudden, we were getting busier and busier and busier, and he did an amazing job. I mean, 6,000 blank sheets of paper to stare at is not easy. And, of course, our new writer is sitting right next to me.
Yes.
How's it going?
I've got to cut this show short today so I can get to some more write-ups because we're about a week and a half behind.
So how's it going?
It's
I'm putting you on the spot here. You know that.
It's good. Peter left behind a legacy of work, really.
Right.
An incredible body of work that sometimes I draw from. And then my inclination right now, since I just started, is to be creative and write them from scratch. And that's not going to cut it because it takes an hour and a half, and they need to be cut. They need to come a little bit quicker than that.
Probably about an hour would be the ideal target time. 45 minutes.
20 minutes, according to some people
well,
around here.
Don't listen to everybody. They don't all know everything around here.
But it's I like it. I'm really learning. I'm actually learning. I'm learning more about 30s Fords in the last couple of days.
The beauty of writing is that it really ingrains in you when you write something.
Yeah.
You know, it's one thing to read something and you're distracted and there's noises and things happening around you, and you don't always catch all of the nuance and all that. But when you write it, when you have to literally write each word of that, boy, it really does. And Peter did a fabulous job. I mean, big shoes to fill, no question about it. But it's interesting that for some unknown, unforeseen reason, you and he are very similar in your writing styles.
Well, I'm trying to keep his voice alive because I think what he did was entertaining. It was interesting to read. You wanted to keep reading about the car, and they're just the right length, I think, too, to give you enough detail, but also be entertaining, get a giggle once in a while. Yeah,
not be 14 pages of technical this and that, although we put a lot of that in there as well,
it's in there, if you want to see it.
And, of course, we have to put in the bad, too, so if there's something wrong with the car, then that's always kind of deflating when you're writing a description, and then you're like, this is the greatest ever, except...
You put it at the very end of the paragraph, so that's how it works.
Yeah, so you kind of fill in the blank at the end, but, you know, Peter is going to semi-retire. He's going to do a lot of woodworking and things that he's been doing over the years, but hats off to him and what he did. And kind of, it was my concept of how we would lay it all out, but without Peter, I couldn't do it. I certainly couldn't do it. And I'm a pretty good writer, but it's difficult. And I love, more than anything, is the pop culture references and things like that he was able to add into it too. And as you said, a little bit of humor. You know, when it's time to be serious, it's time to be serious. When you can throw in a little bit of humor in there, that's great. And a little historical. It's interesting. You learn things. We get clients who call us and say they've learned something about their car that they never knew.
Right.
What was that?
I don't know. Something started. Oh, there's a car started, and we're at the Classic Auto Mall studio.
So. Oh, right. So we're not on the road again.
I forgot to put the sign up in the room.
Sounds healthy, whatever it is.
It's a very healthy.
That might be the Plymouth back there, whatever was.
That green one.
Was it Roadrunner or something?
Did you see the green Monte Carlo right here?
No.
71.2.
I've been in my room staring at a screen.
Oh, I love that car.
I love that
seemed
green.
to be the best buy for its day because I was considering buying one back in the day.
Right.
And it was the most car for the money, like $3,000 or something.
Yeah.
And for size and comfort but
great
still
cars.
performance, you get a V8 with it and everything.
And nothing to be ashamed of when you're driving it. It's not like you're driving an Econo box or something. You're driving something pretty cool.
Cars.
So, and that's one we'll feature here if we don't sell it right away, which we probably will, because it seems like anything that I like or that we get that's good is gone before I even get to go look at it.
Yeah, exactly.
I've had that happen like 3 times in the past week where I'll go up to look at a car that's just come in and, it's gone. We sold it and it's been paid for and shipped out. I'm like, why am I so out of the loop?
I would say the one thing that I'm just adding a little tone to in some of the descriptions is the not urgency so much, but like, this is your time. This is the car you've been waiting for.
Exactly.
And now's the time. Life is short, man. If you dreamed of owning a Monte Carlo, here it is.
Yeah, here it is.
Yeah.
Yep. And you may never find another one that's right here in front of you.
Right,
It's one thing, and I say right here in front of you, and I mean that via live in person or via the screen. It's the same thing in essence. And of course, a lot of people have, if they live far away, they'll have somebody come and inspect the car, or if they have a buddy that's close by, or they may themselves get on an airplane and come here and inspect the car as well too. And we like that. We encourage that. What we hope to get is that the car was a little bit nicer than you described. That's the sweet spot for us. So we have to be brutally honest about a car, but you have to say it in a little bit of a kinder, gentler way. You can't just completely say, oh, this car is, a fright pig, which was a favorite sports car market saying back in the day. A fright pig.
Wow.
And Sports Car Market magazine, Keith Martin, who was on our show, he kind of invented that term.
Or money pit.
Yeah,
another
money pit,
one.
fright pig. But sometimes you can over-describe negatives, and it really is incorrect. You're trying so hard to show every paint bubble, every scrape and nick and scuff and everything, and its bark is way worse than its bite.
Right.
It's not that bad. And we've had people literally have cars inspected and come here after the inspection because they thought that car is nicer than that, and it was. And as we've talked about, listen, the inspection companies have to cover their tracks. They can't not say something about a car because it'll come back on them. Because if they give something a clean bill of health and it doesn't
like a house inspection,
and all of a sudden it's got termites, and you didn't tell the people, then I mean, I don't think any of our cars have termites unless some of the wooden ones from the 30s.
Yeah. No, but there's a funny story with the Philly Auto Show, the little mouse running around.
I didn't see that.
Did you see the mouse? Oh, no. Yeah, it was fun. It didn't come out of our cars. It came out of the AACA. We're pretty sure because those are mostly garage queens, but it was pretty fun. So no termites.
No offense,
mice.
AACA.
Mice occasionally.
Yeah,
it happens.
Yeah, it happens.
But to your point, we just recently took in a 300ZX Turbo 1991. Back in the day, that was the car. That was the car. And
twin turbo.
Lusted after them. Everybody wanted one. And here it is. And it's in great condition. It's less than 30,000 miles. And I thought, wow, this is exactly what my generation is looking for.
Exactly.
And it's in minty mint, but come and see it, inspect it. But I couldn't find hardly any flaws.
Right.
There's no perfect car, but
But if one of ours would have a mouse in it, you would include that in the description, and it comes with the vehicle, right?
Right. A living, breathing thing comes with the vehicle. So, but I think that if you look at cars that have been stored in barns and even just garages, regular garages. I mean, you get mice in our house in the weirdest places. I have one of those. Like a armoire, but it's a bar, and you open big open doors, and then there's a drawer right in the middle of it, and there's napkins in there, and those mice get in there and eat the napkins. It's like, how does it get up to that? How does it climb up that slick wood side?
Yeah.
What has it got?
Yeah.
Little suction.
They're amazing.
Little claws, Little tiny claws. I had an external garage in my apartment complex, and my car just recently had a mouse inside the passenger side.
And what you have to be careful of with mice is that they're all furry and pretty and cute and all that, except they like to eat through wiring. And they like to eat seats, and they like to eat.
Oh, I had a motorcycle in a shed, and the seat was destroyed.
Yeah. Well, look at our 23 Weidman motorhome. That seat is hollowed out in the center from mice, and we're not touching it because it's just the way it is. It was the way as found, as we like to say. But you have to be careful of that. And that's why people put mice traps and stuff in there to eliminate that, because there's more damage that can be done just than little pellets that you find all through your car
Plus, a nest can catch on fire, and so there's a lot of dangers to mice. You gotta take care of them.
Yeah, we've seen like in air cleaners and stuff that have the snouts on them and the long snout and a big mouse nest up inside there as well too. So it's something to be conscious of, because especially if a car's sat for a while. Maybe a couple of weeks, not much damage can happen, but a couple of years and that thing's been in there, and there could be some significant damage, and all of a sudden you're going to find out the hard way when you go to start your car.
That's right.
And the wiring's chewed through.
They say put steel wool in your exhaust pipe to keep them from going and living in your catalytic converter or whatever.
Right.
So there's all kinds of ways, and maybe we'll do a whole segment on.
We could do a whole segment on
mice,
that, right? Yeah.
Keeping them out of your car.
Keeping them out. Keeping them at bay.
That's right.
That's what I say.
Dryer sheets.
Yeah, dryer sheets,
mothballs, and then there's these pre-made sort of herbal packets that you can buy.
This comes in a little aluminum tray or whatever.
No, little packets, little linen packets that you stick everywhere. But then you got to remember that they're in there,
right,
when you start your car, and know where they're at.
A lot to think about, folks.
Otherwise, like putting a banana in your tailpipe.
Right. That's right. I heard that trick before. Anyway, when we return, I just said anyway for the first time, JR, so don't give me any grief. Don't look at me like that. We'll be back with the Classic Auto Mall podcast. Don't forget to check us out on the web, www.classicautomall.com. We'll see you in a couple minutes.
Whether you want to buy or sell a classic, collectible, or special interest vehicle, you need to visit the Classic Auto Mall website for more information. If you're looking to buy, you can easily search our inventory of more than 1,000 vehicles on the web at classicautomall.com.
Lots of car stuff today.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
We're looking for car celebrities. Any celebrity who's listening, or you have ties to a celebrity or sports star with car collection, please get in touch. Podcast at classicautomall.com.
Yeah. We'd love to hear from you, and we'd love to have them on the show and talk about cars and their love of cars. And, a lot of these celebrities and musicians and actors and sports stars all have collection of cars because they're all usually pretty wealthy guys. So, they got a little extra
Sports and entertainment pays well.
Yeah, it pays well, apparently. So I was watching that Winning Times, the story of the Lakers, and Dr. Jerry Buss bought the Lakers, the Kings, the Forum, and a 15,000-acre ranch up near somewhere for $68 million back in 1979 or 80.
That is a bargain.
Yeah. Well, now because the Lakers are worth $5.8 billion.
Oh my God.
The Forum, I know they probably sold it when they rebuilt the whatever.
Right.
And the Kings they sold a while back, but
my wife's uncle back in the day had an opportunity to buy a share of the 76ers, Philadelphia 76ers, for like $5,000.
Right, I know. I have a buddy of mine who's a minority owner of the Pittsburgh Pirates, and they are desperate to buy him out. And he's like a one-share kind of guy. And he says, I'm never selling. This is too cool. Yeah. I don't care how much money they offer me. He goes, I'm a part owner. I get to sit in the owner's box of the Pirates
That
games,
is cool.
You know? So, they can come calling all they want, but they ain't buying. So where you say
we're doing where'd they go?
Where'd they go?
Where'd they go segment.
Well, how about
where'd they go? We got to do a jingle.
Yeah, come on, let's do
Where'd they
jingle.
go, baby?
So, the first one is interesting. Kansas City, Missouri, where my wife is from, close to there. Middletown, New Jersey. Venus, Texas. Edders, Pennsylvania. Brewster, New York. Lebanon, Pennsylvania. Baton Rouge, Louisiana. Cape Coral, Florida. Hamilton, Ohio. Reading, Pennsylvania. Fruitland Park, Florida. Coon Rapids, Iowa, 3 times. Beloit, Wisconsin. Townsend, Delaware. And Gettysburg, Pennsylvania. So 17 cars sold in a week. Have to get on the guys. That's weak.
We're not far from Gettysburg. We can go visit it.
Yeah. Yes. It's funny how many people, when they sell a car from us, or we sell a car for them, that say, is the car still here? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, I just want to go say goodbye to it.
Really?
It's funny. I mean, cars are so much a part of a family. It's funny. And a lot of people sell, and this is the unfortunate part of the hobby, a lot of people sell not because they want to, because they either have to. Mm-hmm. Living situation has changed, whatever. But do me a favor. If you've got a collection of cars, reach out to me and let's make a plan, or reach out to one of our car specialists and let's make a plan. Don't leave everybody in the lurch when you decide to go to the pearly gates.
Oh, yeah.
Because there's a lot to it, and there's a lot of things that people want to honor in your stead, if you will. And let's make a plan and where the cars go and where they're going to be sold. And they don't have to come here. I'm not saying that every car that you sell has to come to Classic Auto Mall. Maybe there's other avenues that we can help you with, taking it to certain auctions. We're not opposed to helping in that. And we're going to do probably 2 or 3 auctions ourselves this year, as we've talked about. Small affairs. We're not trying to be in the auction business.
Any solid plans going?
Nothing yet. We're
summertime.
We're getting close.
Okay,
we're getting close. We've got
That's exciting.
We've got a collection of cars that we may start out with,
right.
and we're thinking more than likely that every auction that we do is going to be absolute or no reserve, and limit it to just a certain amount of cars, maybe 100, 125, maybe at the most, and all be absolute. Because if you really want to draw a crowd for an auction, you really got to have something that, especially today, that sets you apart a little bit, and or at least that they know that the cars are going to sell when they go there. Because nothing more frustrating to go to an auction and every car there is overpriced in your mind from what you'd be willing to pay for it, and you go away empty-handed and they sell 25 or 30%, and so you'd like to avoid that. So we're thinking that if we do it, we would certainly want to make it all no reserve, absolute. And whatever the highest bid is what the highest bid is. And, of course, we'll have a lot of avenues to bid, like proxy bid and in-person and absentee bidding and telephone bidding and all those different things. So we shall see. We'll make announcements sooner rather than later. So new inventory in the Chevrolet Corvair ramp side pickup is so cool.
Yeah, we had it down at the Philly Auto Show. It got a lot of love.
Really got a lot of love, didn't it?
And awesome car.
You don't see many of the ramp side either, which is basically the tailgate goes all the way down on the side of the bed, all the way down to the ground, so you can drive something up on it. What is the purpose of the ramp side?
Well, first of all, why didn't they keep the ramp side? Why did they stop making the ramp side? It's a really great idea. Yeah. It's basically the side of the bed comes down and you ramp right up on it.
You can ramp right up on it. So, it's like swivel seats.
It was very low, first of all. I've seen photos in the brochures and they show people rolling lawnmowers into it. Sure. Of course, it was rear engine, so you had that hump in the back. That's true. And then you had the cab in the front with no protection for your legs if you run into anything.
Kind of like the old Formula One cars.
Yeah, and their middle they could make low, so that's why they made the ramp there instead of the tailgate.
Yeah, that's right.
And this has only got 19,000 original title verified miles on it. So,
it's cool. It's a cool vehicle.
It's ermine white and ember red over red and gold. Air-cooled 6, 4-speed manual. A la the Porsche 911 air-cooled. I don't know that there was many other air-cooled cars besides the Corvair and the Porsche 911.
I don't know either.
Open up.
I'll find out when I start writing them, but podcast at classicautomall.com.
Yeah, if you know the answer to that. Anyway, it's a really interesting vehicle, and the white and red are really striking on that car, or that vehicle.
Yeah, it's almost like a patinaed pinstripe on the side. It's like you can definitely tell it was hand done.
But it was done on purpose.
Purposeful, yeah.
Very purposeful.
It's really cool.
Not for any reason other than it just looked cool. And of course, Corvairs, are interesting little cars. I mean, the Corvair Monza Spider with the turbocharged engine was like 150 horsepower, which was not nothing back in the day.
That's right. And then they made a couple Yenkos, 11 Yenkos.
The Stingers.
That's
the Stinger.
Right. Yeah.
Or Stanger.
That's really cool.
Did you stang me? And so Corvairs, obviously, had an interesting part in the history of the American automobile. Yeah. Certainly, no question about it. And they made a bunch of different versions. You could get just, as base as you can get. I always thought it's interesting. You see these manufacturers who make all these different versions. Like some manufacturers are very limited. They have one or two options and that's it. And then you get these other guys. Like you think about the Jeep Grand Cherokee. You can get a 6-cylinder cloth base, and then it goes into all kinds of 18,000 different configurations, and an Overland and a Summit and a Hellcat and all the different things that you get. And got to be a nightmare going down the assembly line trying to figure out what part goes in where. Of course, that's why they have build sheets.
That's why. Computerized now.
Computerized build sheets.
My first love affair with a car was a 65 Corvair that my aunt owned.
Really?
And she always said it was Aztec red, but I later learned it's Madeira red, which is kind of a maroon. Right. And I pined for that car. I knew I was getting it.
Right.
And she got so frustrated with it. It was a good car, but she got frustrated with it and sold it for $500 to her mechanic. Oh. And I never saw it again.
Wow.
But that was a bench seat dash shifter.
Yeah.
Whereas the Corsa is a bucket seat with a shifter in the middle. And so, really, and that's kind of hard to find. Like, I never see them as a bench seat.
My dad had one back in the day, in probably 68 or 69. Had one. It was probably the base model. I don't think it was a Monza Turbo Spider.
Right.
And then he bought a 67 Jaguar E-Type XKE Roadster.
Wow.
And, of course, nightmare going to school in that thing. He'd drive me to school in it, and in the wintertime, it was cold and air blowing in. The heater didn't work for crap, cool. And it leaked. And I don't know if I even realized how cool it was back in the day. But he bought it at night in a rainstorm.
Not advisable.
Which are, two of the worst things that you could possibly do when buying a car. So, but anyway, I said it twice. Jared's he's keeping track of how many times
I say every time you say anyway.
I know. I've got one of those little boards with a grease pencil here, whiteboard.
It's Hi Bob all over again.
Yeah, right.
So another new.
Yeah, I'm going to start drinking when we do it.
He missed my little.
Yeah, 2018 Can-Am Slingshot.
Yes.
This thing is crazy.
They are crazy. It does get a lot of eyes.
It does.
Of
attention. It's black over black, 423 actual miles. It's got the 2.4-liter Ecotec 4-cylinder, 5-speed manual tranny.
Right.
Wow. It's really got that sinister look about it, doesn't it? It's hard to describe what it looks like. If you had to describe that to somebody who wasn't looking at it and had never seen one before, it would be difficult to. It's like a slingshot. It's like a sling.
Shot. It's the two wheels up front, one wheel in the back.
Yeah.
It kind of looks like an ATV sort of thing, but it has the one wheel in the back, which you love it or hate it. I mean, there's definitely polarizing. It's a polarizing design.
Absolutely. Not everybody loves it. No question about it.
Certainly, obviously, this owner did not use it as a daily driver, but you could in good weather. I've seen them out there.
Yeah, well, you see them in downtown Philly all the time.
Oh, do you?
Yeah, with loud stereos and humping around.
Wow. Did not know that.
Yeah. See them all the time down there. And I think some of them are acting as taxis. Well, they're just a 2-seater, so
yeah.
I guess the passenger ratio thing would not
like it's an Uber. Would not make a good Uber.
It would not, because
you're out in the open. You're out in the open too. You got to wear a helmet.
Probably. Wow. I don't know. You don't have to wear a helmet in Pennsylvania for a motorcycle.
That's true. That's true.
No, you wouldn't have to wear a helmet.
Right.
You needed to think that one through. But it's I love, they say in the description of it, not your description,
right.
not our description, but the description of the unit, a 3-wheeled motorcycle classified as such due to its 3-wheeled configuration.
Okay.
Okay.
Too redundant there.
Yeah, a little redundantly redundant. So introduced in 14 as a 15 model. No roof, no doors, no side windows.
Nothing.
Whole interior is waterproof. Can be hosed down and with drain holes. It's 174 horsepower though. I mean, so it's got to go.
That'll haul.
Yeah, I would imagine. I've ridden one of the Can-Am 3-wheelers with the 2 front wheels and the back wheel, but it wasn't a slingshot. You didn't sit down in it. You sat on it like a motorcycle.
Yeah.
But instead of 1 front wheel, it had 2 front wheels.
Right.
I mean, that thing was stupid fast.
Really?
I mean, I had to back out of it.
Yeah.
And, I don't like to back out.
It's got motorcycle vibe to it.
Yeah,
so.
it's definitely got motorcycle vibe. A little bit, maybe a little safer, I guess.
Yeah, maybe.
Although, at the Philly Auto Show, when I was over in the custom side, you see some of these UTVs. They are as big as a car. I mean, I don't quite understand.
It's crazy, and I don't know if we're going to talk about the Philly Auto Show. But a lot of the big tuner room and custom room,
right?
And there were all kinds of crazy stuff in there. Cartoonish,
yeah, very gargantuan wheels on these pickup trucks that are 10 feet tall,
right,
and not bulletproof.
Chrome everywhere,
and these UTVs, and I don't get them. I mean, I think they're very cool, but they're almost as big as a SUV or a truck. So why not just get a truck or an SUV? I mean, I don't understand the target market when you can buy, and then they're expensive. They're they're $30,000 plus.
Sure.
Which
I don't know.
I'm not quite sure. I don't get it. I don't dislike them, and I'm not saying they're not worth it, and I'm not diminishing them.
Right.
I just don't understand them.
And if you want to consign one, sales at classicautomall.com.
Yeah, we don't have to like everything we sell.
Right. That's right.
Yeah, we don't.
We don't. How can we with 1,100 cars?
1,080. And then the 50 Willys Jeepster convertible, pale yellow over black, nicely executed older resto. It's got the Go Devil inline 4, which was a name that Willys used back in the day, because it went like the devil, I guess. Only 134 cubic inches, though.
Right.
And it's got side curtains, so it's similar to the Can-Am Slingshot with that, without, doesn't have formal door.
Open air.
Yeah, very open airish. And it's really a neat looking car. Yellow is a really good color for those. Excuse me. It seems to be, certain cars are good in yellow and certain cars are not good in yellow. And this particular one is very good in yellow. And then the 1997 Alfa Romeo 916 Spider. Have you seen this thing?
I have seen it. In fact, I met the guy at Radner's. I'm not giving too much information away, but it was a very cool little car. He was there with the Porsche Club and stood out. It's a very interesting car.
I don't even know how to pronounce the name of the color. It's Verde Acido, ACIDO, and it's this limey green color with white interior, 89,000 kilometers, 2-liter twin spark inline 4. 5-speed manual. It came from Holland.
Okay.
It was from a dealer in Holland, and of course it was comes fully inspected and full inspection history in Dutch, so you can do some translation. So, but that's okay.
There's a handful of them in the United States, and I think there's even a club for them. So you're not alone.
No, but I guarantee you, there's not many car shows you'd pull up to that you would even see another one.
No
question about it.
That's
even at a Radwood or a show like that, I don't think you would see one. But very interesting little car, and if you like different and unique, then it's certainly for you. And then last but not least, the 54 Nash Metropolitan hardtop, Caribbean blue, frost white over black and white, micro styling, just so cool. Designed by Pininfarina.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah.
And Nash had a deal, I think, with Superman, the Superman TV show.
Right.
Because Lois Lane drove a little American.
Right.
And then you'd see this Nash like this one in that show, too. The old 50s show.
So if you get a chance, you can see these cars, and I got one more, but I'll talk about when we come back from the break. But if you get a chance to see these cars, go to or if you like to have a chance to see these cars, go to our website, classicautomall.com. We'll be back in a couple of minutes.
Buying and selling via consignment is safe, easy, and secure. We advertise, sell, and ship worldwide. And if you'd like to know all the advantages of selling your car through consignment, the information's available on our website, or you can talk to a classic car specialist who can answer all your questions. Plus, you can easily search our inventory online at classicautomall.com.
We're back with the Classic Auto Mall podcast from the Classic Auto Mall studio in Morgantown, Pennsylvania, on a foggy day, show number 125. You'll have to guess what day we actually recorded this. Actually, recording it on the 24th of January, and to air the first time on the 27th of January on America's Web Radio.
It is 124.24.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Right now.
And show number 125. Now, we've done some repeats and we've done some best ofs, but we did our first remote show last week.
We did.
At the Philly Auto Show. And the Philly Auto Show has continually reinvented itself because it had no choice but to continually reinvent itself. The market's changing and shifting, and electric cars are coming whether they like it or not, and whether you like it or not, whether I like it or not. Doesn't matter if we like it. They're coming. Although, I've read that Ford is cutting way back on the Lightning, the F-150 Lightning electric production, and ramping up the Bronco and the Ranger, which are ICE, or internal combustion engine.
Right. I think there's like two avenues of trajectory right now. And one is like heavy electric, and the other one is kind of going back to old school.
And I looked at the Chevrolet exhibit, and they had no hybrid. So you're either gas or electric. They didn't have a third choice.
And Ford just came out and said on the Mustang that it's always going to be it's always going to be an internal combustion engine. It will. Except that Mustang E.
The Mach E, which
isn't really a Mustang. I mean,
it doesn't even look like one.
I know, and I don't understand the naming, but
not like that electric. Who's that, Steve, that has that red with the gold top? They took a regular Mustang.
Henry Mann stuff. And that's in the
custom area?
Yeah, it was in the custom. No, it was back in the manufacturer area, actually. And Alan Mann Racing, no relation, but other than a business partner, I guess.
But it's cool.
It is really very cool looking.
I'm not sure he's going to, I asked the guy, I'm not sure, I mean, I know Hank too, but he's not going to mass produce them, but it's a great example of how you could electrify a classic car.
He was going to. They were doing others,
and
they are doing others.
And Borla Exhaust is working on exhaust noises for cars that are electric.
All right,
so you can pick whatever sound you want.
Yeah, I was on the train and there were two guys in front of me, and they were obviously going to the Philly Auto Show. And can you believe they're piping noise into it? What's the point?
Yeah, but people love that sound.
Yeah.
I mean, go start that S65, that V12 twin turbo in there, and it will give you a happy days smile all over your face.
The Mustang exhaust sound is one of the best.
It really is.
And Mach 1.
And to finish our new inventory, the 74 Chevrolet Laguna S3. If you don't know what these cars are, don't feel ashamed because there wasn't a whole lot of them out there, but they are cool. I love them.
I think it's cool too.
I think they're very cool. Antique white and dark red over black and white. 29,000 actual miles. 350 with a 350 turbo hydromatic automatic transmission. Build sheet and paperwork. They only made 15,792, which sounds like a lot in today's world.
Right.
Wasn't a lot back then, though.
Nope.
Not when they were making 100,000 Camaros.
Banging them out. But you'd be another car that you'd probably be the only one at the car show with one of these. Really rare.
And at one point in time, the other one was the Pontiac was the Can-Am.
With the hood scoop.
Well, that was the Can-Am. But there was a Grand Am that at one point in time was going to have the SD 455 in it in like 74 or 75. And it was actually even in the brochure that they were going to have motor in, and then they ended up not having it in it, but it was still in the brochure.
That's cool.
There's a great site, I can't think of the name of it. I'll have to find it and I'll tell us about it next week, with old brochures. And it's a guy from the Netherlands or something, but he's got cars, Pontiacs and Duesenbergs and Packards and Fords and Chevys and all the way back into the the 20s and 30s and then all the way through the modern stuff. And it's interesting because if you have questions about a car, usually a good source is the manufacturer's brochure on the car, except for the example with the Can-Am where it didn't have the Grand Am, where it didn't actually end up with the motor that they advertised.
Right.
So you could argue that, but they. The Laguna S3 is a rarely seen example. It's very cool. Probably would make an interesting resto mod. I'm surprised that you haven't seen a resto mod of those. And of course, it reminds me, the Laguna and the Can-Am, or the Grand Am, I keep saying that, of the 2+2 Pontiac and the Aero Coupe Monte Carlo back in the day, which were specifically built for a reason, and they had a unique look about them. Looked very similar but different.
Yeah.
And at the time were pretty cool cars. I mean, we were talking about. I had something down here about that. It was only a 1-year body style too in the Grand Prix.
Okay.
Called the 2+2, and Chevy's version was the Monte Carlo Aero Coupe. And it was considered a muscle car, but it had 165 horsepower. So
they did kind of like the Hurst Olds.
Kind of like the Hurst Olds of the same period. Yeah. And speaking of Hurst Olds, you've seen the gold and black Hurst Olds that we have, or Resto Mod.
The Resto Mod one, the black on gold, the HO, Cutlass, 79
crazy.
Cutlass. Yeah, that thing's a monster.
Yeah, and if it's something you've been looking at, I think that we just recently lowered the price on that. So it might be something.
Been here a little while.
I've been here a little bit. You know, if we call you, it usually means that it's been here long enough that it's time to consider lowering your price a little bit. And then we're not trying to listen, the more we sell it for, the more we make. So we want to sell it for the most amount, but we want to be realistic about it too. And we don't, we
want to sell it.
I had a guy say to me recently, he said, well, why did you guys take it at that price point? And I said, if you remember our conversation, I had mentioned that it should be at a lower price, and you thought that it should be at this price. Oh, yeah, you're right. So
it happens.
I'm not an expert on anything. I know a lot about a lot, or a little about a lot, or however you say it. But we have a good handle on when things are out of whack on the price point, either too low or too high. I mean, we've literally told guys, there's a couple of cars here, a recent example that we had, I won't mention names and what it was, but the guy wanted X amount of dollars, and we said, no. And he's like, what do you mean? Is that too much? I go, no, it's too little. And he said, really? Yep. He said, I really don't. I said, I promise you. And we went about 20 grand more than he thought he wanted in his pocket, and we got it for him within about 3 weeks.
Right.
And and
the market speaks. I mean, and some people have no idea what their car is worth.
No, and you can't base it on what you paid for it,
or what you put into it,
because that doesn't mean anything. It's if you inherit a house and you pay zero for it, does that make the house worth zero? Right. No, it's worth what the market will bear. And we're pretty good at knowing that, and knowing which ones are underpriced and which ones are overpriced. And one of the criticisms that we get that from time to time is, oh, you got cars that are overpriced. Well, again, we don't set the price. We just market the cars at whatever price the owner wants. And who's to say what's overpriced? I mean, go watch, barret-jackson this week. They have over 2,000 cars. Now with Sammy Hagar's Ferrari LaFerrari is out because there was a battery issue with it. Right? It's got some kind of hybrid battery thing, and it'll probably have to go to Modena, Italy to get fixed. And he's going to sell it now in the fall version of barret-jackson. Now they're going to do a Scottsdale fall, a 3-day auction. But anyway, they got over 2,000 cars there, all absolute, no reserve. And just because a car sells for X at that auction doesn't mean that your car is going to sell for the same, because that car may have had more money put into it. That car may have had a completely different setup than yours. That car may have been two guys who were, drunk.
Right.
Plus, and you're not Sammy Hagar.
Plus, keep in mind that what you see the price for, you might say, oh, that was a good deal on it, but there's also a buyer's fee.
A 10% buyer's fee.
Which you don't see.
You don't see. And it's also expensive to go to Scottsdale if you're there in person. And if you have to haul your car there, and especially if you're on the East Coast, I mean, the expenses start adding up. And let's say you sell your car for 50 grand and they take 10%. Well, there's 45, and it costs you $1,500 to get it there. There's 3.5, and then you got $2 grand in expenses while you're there. I mean, before you know it, you're at 38,
right?
With airline and all the stuff and hauling and all that good stuff. So I mean, you gotta factor all that in, and that's why people say, well, I'll just take my car to an auction. Well, okay, but it's a $1,500 entry fee,
right?
And it's 10% on both sides. Well, I don't care what the buyer pays. Well, you should, because that's going to mitigate what they're going to pay for the car. Listen, if I've got $100 grand to spend, I can't bid to $100 grand,
right?
Because that means I'm going to be paying 110
plus shipping.
Plus shipping. Yep. So I've got to think I'm going to be at 90 or 88 or 89.
Exactly.
And so it does change, the perception. But barret-jackson does an amazing job, and what they do with the Resto Mod side of it is unbelievable. I mean, the numbers that they get are staggering on Resto Mods.
Especially Corvette
Resto
C2,
Mods.
C3s.
Yeah, and people that they do a lot of business with, and things that are well known in the hobby, like Amos Mintner, who does all the Thunderbirds out of Texas, and does really, really well. But they promote that, and when they get something that's not a Resto Mod, like Camaro or a Chevelle, Jerry McNeish, our friend, inspects the car and tells you, make sure that it's real and the numbers match and it is what it says it is. And that gives you a little extra added confidence. You may not have that at a car that you buy here or somewhere else. So, I mean, and you can't offer that as a seller. You know, you could, but you'd have to pay Jerry McNeish, you know, $800 or $900 probably to come out and inspect your car.
He's got the gig, man.
He's got a great gig.
He's got such the knowledge. His name comes up everywhere I go. And,
all the time.
Yeah, all the time. And he's the man.
He is the man. He knows that stuff as well as anybody. And he's respected in the hobby.
Yeah.
And he's fair. And so you may not like what he has to say, but that's not his fault.
Right.
You know, he's only preaching. And same with us. You know, when you get mad at us because we talk about a rust hole in your car.
That's right.
What do you expect?
Yeah. Well, we're honest, and that's why you've been in business.
That's
for
why
6 years this month,
now,
right?
Yeah, 6 years. January 1st was our 6-year anniversary. So here we go for another 6 or 8 or 10 or 12 or hopefully longer. As long as the market continues to do what it does, then
I've only got 5,992 cars
to catch up to Peter before you can retire. We're not letting you retire until you get to Peter's mark on
What's
there.
he doing on retirement?
Yeah, little woodworking.
Woodworking, yeah. I'll get started on that.
Yeah, get going on that. And again, just a special thanks to Peter and the great job that he did. And we wouldn't be where we are today if it weren't for Peter.
Well, play your little applause for him under the start.
Yeah,
under the start.
Where's my little applause? There, it's clapping right there. Thank you. So,
that's good.
Yeah, fantastic. Thanks, Peter. Appreciate everything you did. Oh, we're not.
We still got time.
We're not done.
Stretch it.
Stretch. See, I'm doing that stretching thing. I was kind of lost of where we were just there for a minute. You know, I'm right here back in Comfort Zone 101.
Right.
It was interesting doing the Philly Auto Show. I wasn't sure how I was going to do it. It's the first time I've ever done it, not here.
Right.
This is my world right here. This is my bus.
How to feel.
You know, it felt good.
Yeah.
And I am not schmoozing you because you're the boss and control everything.
However.
But you did really well, especially if you felt that way going out there.
Yeah.
Because it is an unknown environment. And I thought it went really well. And if you haven't listened to the podcast, please check it out because we had a couple of very interesting guests and it was just we talked about a lot of fun stuff.
I wish we'd have gotten the guy on camera who was trying to get my attention while I'm in the middle of interviewing the guys. That was hilarious. Hey, snap his fingers. Hey,
walk right up to the table.
I'm working here.
I'm working. Can you not? What do you think? I got all this stuff on.
See, that's where the camera light, the studio light would have helped because then it would look like we're on TV.
And we probably should invest in a studio light.
I have a studio light. I didn't.
We just didn't bring it.
On the train. I didn't think we needed it because there's good light there.
Maybe and one of those like our little clock here, one that says on the air.
Right, exactly. Just one of these, a portable one of these, and maybe that would.
It's a work in progress, folks. We're working on it.
Yeah, we did it one time. So
technically, it was great. Shout out to JR for a great setup, and the sound was awesome. Great videotaping. Whoever did that.
Yeah. Oh, that guy was good.
How many? I can only add so many titles on your business card.
Let's thank Randy Lammy who put the video together.
Yeah, did a great job on that, and it just went up on YouTube today. Yeah, so it was on America's Web Radio last week, and then it was on all the other podcast sites. Which don't forget, as I forget to mention them all, but there's a bunch of them we're on: Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Podcast Index, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, Podchaser, Pocket Cast, Deezer, Listen Notes, Google Assistant, Player FM, Podcast Addict, TuneIn Plus Alexa. Oh my God!
And why do we say that? Because if you're listening already on a podcast, you probably already know, but you may have a friend that says, well, I don't listen to iHeartRadio, but I listen to Deezer. And it's like, well, it's on there too. You know?
It's like your search engines. Of course, now there's not many options. You got Google, and then you got, what's that one that you had, that new thing that's out, DuckGo or something?
DuckDuckGo.
Or something like that.
That's like a security one that searches some.
Anyway.
Yeah.
When we return.
Go ahead, let me have a cocktail.
When we return, we'll talk about other fascinating automotive stuff from the Classic Auto Mall podcast. See you in a minute.
Whether you want to buy or sell a classic, collectible, or special interest vehicle, you need to visit the Classic Auto Mall website for more information. If you're looking to buy, you can easily search our inventory of more than 1,000 vehicles on the web at classicautomall.com.
We're back.
We have fun on the breaks.
We should record that. We do record that.
Yeah.
Just you can't air that crap.
No.
Because you never know. It might get me in
trouble.
we
can. We don't have the FCC, but
right.
We were talking about Southern terms, and they're so great because we don't have anything like that up here in the North. It's like
what did your mother say?
My mother would say if a guy was unusual, she would say, that boy has the peculiars.
That's good.
Yeah, that was a great thing that she said. And that was her way of politely saying that he was not all together.
Not all there.
My grandmother was hilarious. She was a great lady and was in a nursing home for the last 10 years of her life, but didn't really need to. Just thought that was not a bad way to live. People bringing you food, and she thought, why am I cooking and cleaning and all this
warm
stuff?
bed,
warm bed. And I got
the money to stay here.
I got the money to stay here, so I'm going to stay here. And I'll never forget, one of our family friends gave her a subscription to the Knoxville News Sentinel, the newspaper in Knoxville, Tennessee. She felt so guilty about it. She just couldn't believe that they would spend all that money on her to give her that newspaper subscription. Nice. How nice of them to do that. The first edition that she got, she opened it up and the real estate transfers were there. And it was Dr. Turner Howard, and his wife who had given him the subscription. And it said, Turner Howard to Joe Smith, $400,000 piece of property. And this is like 1979. Wow. And she's like, well, I don't feel so guilty anymore. She said, "Oh, well, I'm not worried about this at all."
$3.95 for a subscription.
Well, bless her pea-picking heart.
That's right.
A lot of good old sayings in the Southern world. I forgot to mention too. We were talking about barret-jackson at Scottsdale this week, and I'm watching it. This being the 24th of January, 2024, 24. Our buddy Steve Mignante is not on the broadcast this year. He's still recuperating from his illness he had, and I'm not quite sure what it was, nor does it really matter.
Encephalitis.
Yeah. And so he's not on the show this year. And I miss him. I really enjoyed his technical side of it, and the homework that he did on every car was really fascinating. And a lot of like what we do here.
Yeah.
Trying to tell everybody, if you want the heavy details, they're there. If you don't want it, you can skip over that. That's why we kind of segment our description. You can, if there's parts that you don't care so much about, or you've seen the car in person and you don't need to know what the interior is, or whatever the case may be, you can get it if you want it.
Yep.
But you don't have to take it.
That's right. And there are technical aspects that are kind of held back because they'd be boring to read and stuff. And so a lot of people call and say, I'm interested in that car. What can you tell me about it?
Sure.
Well, you can tell you everything that's online, but now I'll go back in the files and see exactly what the build was or something like that.
Yeah, there's a lot of different things that may not have made it, that ended up on the cutting room floor, if you will. But there's a lot of stuff out there that maybe you're interested in. Not everybody's interested in what type of pistons are in a car.
Right.
But if a guy is interested in a car and he's a gearhead and really knows that kind of stuff, and it's there, we have it there. And if we don't have it, by golly, we'll get it for you.
Yeah.
And sometimes we just don't know.
That's true.
Listen, people have bought cars off of estates. They bought cars at auctions. They bought cars at places where there was really no information about the car. They don't even know what size the motor is.
That's right. You go back in the description form, and sometimes there's nothing there.
It's just blank. Red 4-speed does not cut it.
I just bought it, or I've only owned it for a couple of years, and I'm the 17th owner, and they don't know much.
I don't really know much about it. And
that's okay.
And, sometimes we have to put stuff out there in hopes that some expert will see it and say, hey, by the way,
right.
Just so you know, that's not a 19 this, or it's not a that. It's not an LS, it's an LT. We
got a great spec writer, though, who does go through the cars with a fine-tooth comb and is able to pull some of that information. And
Justin has got a knowledge base of specing numbers and transmission numbers and engine numbers and parts numbers and decoding cars.
Exactly.
And that's an amazing job that kind of just formed out of thin air here, really. It wasn't a job that was specific. We're going to have one guy and all he does is do specs. No, we can't do that. You can't have one guy just doing that. Yes, you can.
And you need it.
Yeah. Especially as many cars as we got, because our goal is we're not trying to be know-it-alls, and we're not trying to tell you how bad your car is, but if we can't prove that it's matching numbers, generally speaking, it's probably not matching numbers, even if the guy you bought it from told you that it was matching numbers or whatever the case may be.
Yep.
Or is original this or original paint or whatever it is. And our guys are, have a good eye for that kind of thing. And it's one of those things that if you don't know what you're looking for, it can be a pretty slippery slope in buying, especially a muscle car. Certain cars don't matter. Listen, if you're buying a resto mod, you don't care what the source of the engine is. And it doesn't really matter because it's not going to create value like an original 396 in a Chevelle versus the 396 that came in a truck, and not the Chevelle that that you bought and were assured by the owner. And it may not be nefarious either. It may not be the guy's not trying to pull the wool over your eyes. The guy he bought it from may have told him that it was
exactly
this, that, or the other. So, I mean,
what is it? Verify, trust but verify.
Trust but verify. You want to make sure that how do you know that this is a matching numbers car? Well, the guy I bought it from told me so.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, now we know, we have a starting point to know that it's not verified by paperwork or any kind of stamping or anything like that. And things can be restamped. Blocks can be restamped. Transmissions can be. There's a lot of things.
There's certainly fraud out there, so
there is.
Look out for it.
And so you got to know what you're doing. If you're interested in buying a numbers matching high dollar muscle car, find the Jerry McNeish, find the guy in the neighborhood who knows everything about it, find the right guy to guide you along the way, because otherwise you're going to buy something and you're going to bring it home, and then the guy's going to go, well, that's not right.
Mm-hmm. And I've heard horror stories with through. Now, not to compare us to auctions, but you only have 2 minutes at an auction really to figure things out. Whereas here, if you're interested in a car, you can go through it really well.
You can put a deposit down, and you can hold it for, I think we hold it up to about a week, and that's about as much as we do.
Got time.
Yeah, so you got time to have it inspected, have somebody come out and look at it.
Well, and as you said earlier, Stewart, if somebody is looking to, not to buy from us, but if they have a question about a vehicle, to call us. I saw this one in town, and I'm looking at buying it. What do I need to do? And I'm sure you can refer someone that would even come out and inspect it if it's a pricey enough vehicle.
We have a lot of resources with stuff like that, and it's one of those things that we offer as a free service, basically, to people. And especially, it's not always. We don't have a whole department that's just waiting for your call, but if the timing's right and our guys are free and can take a phone call and are not in the middle of 18 million different things, which sometimes they are, then they're happy to talk to you. One of our car specialists, our spec writer, myself, whomever, are happy to talk to you about a particular car and to guide you a little bit, to give you some resources and things to look out for and all of that. We look at so many different cars that our knowledge base is 6,000 cars we've taken in over the past. Of course,
with some repeats.
Of course, that's Mecum just finished up in Kissimmee, $275 million in sales.
Yikes!
4,383 cars offered in a 10-day or 12-day period. Third year of a $200 million plus auction.
Wow.
And
we did 120, and can you imagine doing
4,383?
Speaking of that, how many employees does Classic Auto Mall have?
Classic Auto Mall now has
4.
20.
I do everything.
Yeah, it's not just you two.
So Steve's got 4, so there's 4, and I'm like 12. So
and
Randy's excuse me. We've got 22 or 23, I think now, employees. Some of them are part-time that are just car specialists out on the road. A lot of them are, though, here every day. 6 days a week we work here, Monday through Saturday. Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, we're here 9 to 5. Wednesday, 9 to 8. And then Saturdays, we're here from 9 to noon. And then we give the guys a day and a half to recharge, because Monday mornings are chaos in here. It's just busy. And Saturdays are pretty crazy too. A lot of test drives and things like that on Saturdays. Not necessarily sales or in the traditional sense of the word, but inspections happening and things like that. And a guy can't get away from work, and so he comes out on Saturday morning or Wednesday evening. That's why we're open till late. It used to be it was a cruise in that we did every Wednesday night. We really don't do that anymore. People bring their cars from time to time, but we've got a pretty good cruise in indoors. So 1,080 cars is plenty to see, and it's not the same cars every time you come back. You can come back a month from now and might think, wow, this place looks almost completely different. There's a lot of familiar faces that have been here for a while, and that's okay. That's part of the attraction. There's certain cars that we have here that we really don't care if they sell, because they're great attractors of people. Hey, you got to go see this
Batmobile,
the Batmobile,
Cobra,
or Hemi this, or high
or that Hurst,
or that Hurst.
I can see one out the window here. What is that?
Yeah, it's Hurst-ish.
It's an old, but it's old. It's like 40s, is it?
Probably late 40s. I think 47 or 48. We'll have to feature that car next week, and we'll talk more about it.
They had an ambulance and hearse show over at the hotel not long ago.
Professional Car Society.
Yep.
And they had ambulances, ambulance, and
hearses, and flower cars.
Some of them were really interesting, and they were really
the flowers. They're like a Cadillac El Camino.
That's exactly what it is, and you would see those at heads of state funerals, and mafia guys' funerals. Lots of flowers, and those cars are really interesting, and they're They're pretty rare, although, there's rare and then there's desirable. We say that all the time.
That's
and
right.
just because they only made a few of something doesn't mean anybody cares.
Right.
That's the problem with rare and desirable. I mean, if you look at 1940 Packard, 4-door sedan in black, that's a cool car, and it's lasted, 84 years. Doesn't mean it's valuable. Doesn't mean it doesn't have a value that's commensurate with its age and provenance and all that, because it's just a black 4-door Packard. And there's a lot of cars that are like that are not particularly loved. Graham Hollywood's come to mind. They made street rods out of that. Graham is the one who bought all the stuff from Cord, that coffin nose, all that stuff, and made it, stretched it, and they're pretty rare, but you could have one and just you could not get one phone call on it.
Yeah, that's right.
Nobody is interested. So remember that. Just because they only made 5 1985 Mustangs in chartreuse doesn't mean that anybody cares.
Yeah, well, that's the reason I mentioned my 4 rules of the classic car. You have to have the person that wants that car, has the money to buy it, a place to put it, and a wife that'll let him have it.
That's exactly right.
Pretty much.
And if you don't check all those boxes, then...
and anyone missing, no sale.
No sale. How about, I was just reading today, the 2025 Cadillac CT5V Blackwing.
Yes.
These cars are bad boys.
Hey.
Yeah.
Yeah. They're
668 horsepower V8, 6-speed manual. It's got a PDR, performance data recorder.
Wow.
It's got a lap analyzer. It's got video playback. It's got coaching advice on your lap times. A center screen has a live readout for power, torque, boost, G-force, and not tire pressure, but tire temperature.
Wow.
I mean, really an interesting car.
And that is not an electric car.
That is not an electric car. There's and not even a hybrid. Although,
and it sounds good.
It sounds really good.
Blackwings are amazing.
Yeah.
We have a collector friend who has one, and it's just spectacular.
It is.
Yeah,
He's got a spectacular. It's another one of those collections that you can't talk about, but it's
can't talk
so
about.
cool.
He's open to it, but not on the radio.
Yeah, exactly. But no. It's really an amazing collection, and he's got lots of stuff like that that are one-off types of Black Series Mercedes.
Yes.
That are really interesting and things like that.
AMG
stuff.
63.
Yeah. Or not an S63. That would be mine's an S65.
The C63 AMG Black Edition.
Yeah, the Black
Series
or whatever. Black Series. That's what they call it.
Yep.
So we finally got it.
Couple of those.
There was a terminology, a word that we used to use back in the day that you hardly ever hear anymore. Souped up.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
And that doesn't have anything to do with eating soup.
No.
It means that you've modified your car to be more powerful and sound cooler. And, a souped up Ford with big rear wheels would be an example of how you would say that. Or the film doesn't really need a souped up soundtrack. So souped up doesn't have to be a car, but it was mostly car related.
Yeah.
And it came back in early as 1911.
Huh.
And it was a reference to narcotic injected into horses to make them run faster.
That's so interesting.
Wow.
It's funny you should mention that, because during these write-ups, I looked up the origin of hot rod. Maybe we can talk about that next week.
Sure.
But it was hard to find the actual origin.
Where the origin came, who said it first, and where it came from.
There's all these different theories, and it was very interesting, and it's written into one of the hot rods.
So come back, folks.
Yeah, come back.
Join us next time.
Just next time. We'll catch you next time on the Classic Auto Mall podcast. We'll see you then.
You've been listening to the Classic Auto Mall podcast with your host, Stuart Howden, executive producer Steve Safir, produced and engineered by yours truly, J.R. Russ. Thanks for listening and sharing the Classic Auto Mall podcast. Available on classicautomall.com, YouTube, or wherever you get your podcasts. Music courtesy of the Pat Travers Band, produced by Car Smarts Media, copyright 2023, all rights reserved.